This is the U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
Well, let's see what this man has to say.
One of the people who has decided
See what
that
this
she is
man
a
has
success
to
story,
say.
who regards herself as one of the giants of American journalism.
Okay, definitely don't regard myself as a giant of American journalism.
Is Taylor Lorenz, who used to work at the New York Times, caused one drama after the next.
Caused one drama after the next. If by that you mean broke page one stories.
Then made her way to the Washington Post.
Yeah.
She basically, as we're going to show you, started her career by hanging outside of houses that are filled with 16 and 17 and 18-year-old TikTok influencers.
Okay, what?
Where she would try and induce them to speak to her and give her secrets.
What? First of all, I started my career in 2009 as a blogger and internet personality. Last I checked, TikTok was not around then. I don't know what he's talking about. I also have never hung out outside TikTok houses.
She would go and get 17-year-olds canceled. And so she built a TikTok platform just by using the names over and over of 17-year-old boys who were extremely popular among adolescent girls, even though she was 40.
What the 40?
What's going on?
First of all,
is he sourcing information about a different Taylor Lorenz? What the fuck is he talking about? I'm listening to him like she's hanging around
like her,
TikTok
which is so
houses. Like hanging around TikTok houses. Even I'm aware that she's been a journalist for over a decade. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, wasn't one of her big things like Wall Street? Like Occupy? Wasn't she?
Yeah, everyone
Occupy?
came out of there.
Yeah.
All the
What the
anyone our
fuck?
age, their big thing to come to fame is Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. So it's like, I'm not her biggest fan. And even I know that. Like, come on. And you made a whole ass video about this and you want to still call yourself a journalist? My guy. My guy, if you can't even do basic research like this, boy, how can anybody believe anything you write ever again?
they're obsessed with making me older than I am. It's so weird. It's so deeply weird because it's like people I went to high school with and elementary school with, like, are.
It's a misogyny thing. I guarantee it. Because of the whole women don't like being older sort of stereotype. I guarantee it that's like half the psychology.
My favorite thing is the it sounds like you do want to tell people what to do.
On the internet and have said like many times, like, we went to high school with Taylor, we went to middle school with Taylor. I'm obviously a millennial. My work history like very publicly begins in 2009.
Well, slander, if it impacts her work, maybe. If it doesn't, no, it's just his opinion. So there's nothing really there. The First Amendment's very interesting when it comes to this sort of stuff. Like the one part of the American Constitution that I actually know a decent amount about is the First Amendment, and like, I mean, yeah, it literally is slander, but it's legally not. That's
It's
the
also
shitty
Glenn
thing about
Greenwald.
it. Yeah. So it's like, at this point, it's not going to impact her
Now,
career. She's
remember,
able to do this.
This sourcing that we're seeing from Greenwald, this is the guy that supposedly was able to find out like Alfreda's fucking name, the Queen of Torture's name, to dox her.
Yeah.
Supposedly, this guy,
yeah.
master researcher, supposedly was able to find out this identity.
Everyone knows when I graduated college. So it's like, if I'm 40, like, where's this like missing decade in my life? Anyway, also, what 17-year-olds am I getting canceled? I don't know what they're talking about. I actually have my TikTok following from Musical.ly. I was amused the 2016 election, but that's a story for another day. I used to do social media on Musical.ly, and my name was Mark Zuckerberg, by the way, on Musical.ly.
That's
doing it
hilarious.
And somehow this convinced her that she's some kind of like giant of American journalism who now is in a position to issue state of the media addresses.
Ty's too skinny,
the only person issuing a state of the media address here.
What?
Ty's too skinny, Glenn.
It seems to be Glenn.
Look at how cool she is, though, just in a t-shirt. Like,
I like her vibe. She's cool, but yeah, meh. Just like do you
think she believes in astrology?
No, I think she likes her personality quizzes though.
Do you think she has crystals?
Myers-Briggs shit, loves it.
Do you think she has crystals?
Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. It's pretty hard to tell. It's only when they're like
Do you
talking
think she
about
has
that
the
sort of stuff.
Christmas lights strung up around her bedroom?
No, she has LED strips.
Okay.
Much classier.
Okay.
Issues a State of the Union address. And so she went to TikTok to talk about the reason why her entire generation basically has proven to be complete failures.
Wait, my entire generation. What generation am I in, Glenn? What generation am I in? Am I in your generation? I'm pretty sure you're in like your 50s or something. So am I in my 40s and I'm in your generation, or am I actually a millennial?
That's hilarious.
Make it make sense.
And I think it's really worth listening to what she has to say. Obviously not because there's any wisdom in it, but because it illustrates the pathologies and sicknesses.
I love that she's taking none of it seriously, though.
Of
it's all a joke.
That part of the media and the unbelievable inability.
I can't wait for
to
this to
accept
happen.
responsibility, even though she purports to say some of this is.
I'm so jealous of her right now.
You'll see.
Well, they're gonna go after you. They're not gonna touch me. I'm fucking untouchable.
I know, and
Come
it's
the
like
fuck
whenever
at me.
people do go after me, it's for like the dumbest shit. Like some like weird like tweet out of context and stuff. Instead of like, is this you promoting the ideas of Osama bin Laden?
Yeah, exactly. Is this you
Is this you
interacting with
retweeting
ISIS?
known terrorists on your Twitter?
Like that's the stuff. Like, come on.
And the way
and like this is the only kind of stuff that they could even maybe try and
yeah.
get
The thing is that like these people are soft.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, if they were to try and do a character assassination on me, I would just upload a picture of my testicles to Twitter under the video.
I just don't have time for it. Like the people that I've dealt with in life, it just has made me very like, okay, bro. Like,
yeah. I've come to the same point, but in a very different way. And I'm much more confrontational about it. I'll push back.
No, I don't care at all. I just walk away.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
When she says it, it's really just the pretense of accepting responsibility, but not actually any attempt to grapple with the true pathologies of media.
The entire journalism industry is basically in a free fall. Today, the Los Angeles Times laid off 115 employees. They wiped out their entire DC bureau in an election year.
Taylor,
they laid off pretty much all their sports teams.
Company.
They killed their entire tech and business section.
Right.
They laid off breaking news writers, social media editors. The list goes on. But what's really dark is this is just the latest in months and months and months of layoffs in the media industry.
I mean,
in fact, tens of thousands.
We got
of
Jake
journalists
Hanneran on, so
that is true.
That was a real stealth get too. You know what I did?
Yeah, because you tagged him on Twitter and then started talking to him, didn't you? Or
Yeah. So I found a fucking Order 9 Angles archive, and I pulled it up.
and then they were obsessed with him. Yeah,
they were bitching about him.
And I think you posted something on Twitter, tagged him, and he replied to it. I think is what you told me. Yeah, it's a good episode too. If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it.
Yeah, because it's also like
Hanrahan from Popular Front explaining how
like just
Nazis
like not being like not sucking his dick the whole like and like actually bringing him there to talk about something that he's an expert on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, doing journalism.
Off in the past year. Major media companies like
instead of bringing some flog in a suit on, we bring the guy who's probably the preeminent expert on the subject in, and ask him actual questions. It's like we've been saying with all these people that we've been covering the last couple of weeks. If we got them on, we wouldn't be softballing questions to them. We'd give them actual questions. Give them an actual interview, see how they handle it.
Completely shuttered their news operations. Time magazine also just laid off a ton of people, and Sports Illustrated basically shut down last week. Pretty much the entire digital media ecosystem that myself and a lot of other millennial journalists came up in has been completely hollowed out. And it's not just digital media.
I gotta just let her repeat that sentence because I love it so much.
Hang on, I just want to say, she's doing a makeup tutorial. Is that what's going to happen? No, but seriously, I just want to say, when we say that this was hollowed out, the amount of people who have worked so fucking hard in our generation in this industry and have nothing behind
Nothing
them.
to show for it, yeah, because it's all owned by these companies, and these companies are gone now.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then they like don't fucking pay you. They exploit you, right? They literally, if you do anything for them, they have complete control over how it's going to be edited. They'll fucking throw a dumb headline on there, and that headline gets associated with you. Like this, to say that this was hollowed out, it was always hollow. There was never body to it.
It was always about the profit.
Like Occupy Wall Street is really the end of the mainstream dynamic. The thing is that there was no independent sector to dive into at that time, right? So that's why like most of the people who worked there ended up going to work at Vice, who did Occupy Wall Street protests, right?
Yeah.
And like so many of these people who are like award-winning journalists that are like my age covering like Ukraine and Gaza and stuff probably started at Vice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. I'm kind of thankful that I fell into journalism later, because like I could have easily gone, because I went to uni. My first uni was
Tim Pool is really the only one who did his own thing, you know, and that still came like I think 3 or 4 years after, right?
Yes, yeah, it was a few years after, but yeah, like it's because I went to my first year was arts degree because I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. I could have easily switched to journalism at that point, but I wasn't even thinking about it at that point. So I kind of, if I had fallen into it at that point, I would be in the same situation as all of these people. So I'm kind of thankful that I didn't, and I fell into it in the late 2010s. Because I missed all this shit. But,
BuzzFeed.
Yeah, fucking BuzzFeed.
Wheat, dessert, just entering my body and animating every one of my cells.
Weird.
Dude, what?
Listen to this sentence.
Entire digital media ecosystem that myself and a lot of other millennial journalists came up in has been completely hollowed out. And it's not
the area of media that myself and a lot of my fellow digital millennial journalists has come up in have been completely hollowed out. That is exactly what has happened.
Just digital media sites.
Okay.
Local news has been obliterated. The newspaper industry is cratering. Radio is essentially dead, aside from NPR, which has been gutted. Meanwhile, hundreds of workers at Condé Nast, the parent company
and
of pretty much every
who
major
else
magazine, from
is
GQ
offering
to
a
Vogue
solution to this?
Yeah. Who?
Because all these people go, I'm going to do my own show. It's the Don Lemon Show. Nobody watches. He gets Elon Musk on. Nobody comes back after that.
Nobody gives a shit because it's just the same playbook over and over and over again. There's nothing new. It's just recycled shit.
Not only is capitalism bad, I think news is like a public security sector. Like I think that there's a reason why the First Amendment hollows out press freedom from everything else, right? They're like putting it as important as just general like religious
freedom. Yeah.
Right. Huge.
Yeah, very big. Like it is by all definitions an institution and one of great importance to probably the stability of your country, because without proper journalism and without, like, realistically, right,
the transparency in America is insane.
Yeah. So if your country's police force is completely and utterly controlled by the government, they control information, the state controls information, but you have a free press, you have an open country at that point. Because no matter what, if there are protections stopping the state from persecuting journalists, which Australia does not have, by the way, constantly and always raiding journalists and taking their sources by force. America started doing this recently, actually. I think there are a couple of instances in California. A couple of instances.
Oh yeah. There was like it was something to do with police being angry or something.
Yes,
and it's something. Look, it's not a question of whether you get arrested or sued for what you print. It's a question of whether those things succeed. So that's the thing is that you still can get taken to court and drowned out in court fees and stuff like that. It's just a common tactic. But the thing is that with the state that journalism is in, with the ultimate freedom that it has, mixing with the institution of capitalism has been absolutely detrimental to the world. It is like a serious thing that, like, if the number one thing that really needs to die, and when I say it's like a public service, I'm talking about like taxes should go to funding news instead of it being like a capitalist incentive.
There
Like,
should be no profit motive for journalism.
And
It
like
should be,
you look
and
at,
this is why I also say that money should be kept out of politics, because there shouldn't be a fucking profit motive inside politics either, because it should be serving the people. It's the same as journalism. Realistically, in theory, but realistically, if we're actually looking back at history and we're looking objectively at history, I'm sure everybody's aware of the advent of yellow journalism. That definitely wasn't the first implementation of tabloid journalism. How long has the New York Post been around again? 150 years? Perfect fucking point, right?
yeah, but they were like rebranded as a tabloid, I believe, after like they were bought by another conglomerate.
I think it was probably Murdoch. But
What's the solution? Me,
tabloidy.
Jack, and me as the solution.
5th gen. Exactly. Non-profits.
Exactly.
But the other thing is that with people that come in and work for us, not only are we going to pay them, but we're not going to own their content.
Yeah.
Their content that they make is their content, and then the stuff that they make with us is the 5th gen content, right? And then any profits made from them will be split among the people who made it and were involved. It's going to be, theoretically, if we can get an appropriate
my
model
biggest thing is just to have it so people actually have something to show for themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So it's more of a collaborative hub as a non-profit for people, as opposed to a central point
all these things
out stuff.
All these they like to get someone who, like, you know, like to be a producer who's on camera at like Vice, for example. Yeah, you have to be a really charismatic like personality and stuff. But for the most part, anyone who works in these places, they don't build like a social media following. Like most journalists that you'll come across on social media will have under 1,000 followers.
The New Yorker to Vanity Fair are on strike because they're also facing impending layoffs. Even mainstream national media outlets owned by billionaires like the Washington Post, where I work, and the Atlantic, where I used to work, have done layoffs.
Okay, so we're just watching my TikTok video again at this point. It's crazy, by the way, like how much content these right-wingers have generated off my single TikTok video. Just have to say that.
If you're a young journalist today, there's almost no on-ramp to traditional journalism. Even if you do get a job, journalists' salaries have been stagnant and even declined.
Stop going into traditional journalism. Simple. If there's no roles for journalism, don't study journalism.
Gun them down.
Or do your own stuff. You got a phone? Look, you've got a journalism thing. Look at that.
Yeah,
crazy. You want to see what else you need? I'm going to play the video, but I'm going to go and get something and show you that this is all you need to make a documentary.
And by the way, we don't make that much to begin with. I don't think people understand how bad the world would be without journalists.
Oh, people understand.
So we can start killing the Protestants.
No, Michael,
The
that's
world
not
would be
what
bad
this is
without
about.
journalists. In fact, that's exactly the problem we have, is that none of these people are actually journalists. They do not perform the journalistic function.
Glenn,
This is all you need.
the talk. A wrench?
It's a gimbal. This is all you need.
You don't
This is
even
all you
need that.
need to start
You don't even
journalism.
need
You
it.
don't even need this.
Yeah.
Realistically, these have stabilizers inside them. You don't need it. This is nice. You don't need it. This is all you need. You don't even need this. You can use a shitty old phone. You've seen some quality of the videos. Doesn't matter about the quality. It matters about the content, especially with journalism. Unless it's specifically about the visual content, the visuals don't matter. You can record it with your phone. You can use AirPods. You can use anything. It's completely accessible to anybody who wants to do it. You don't need corporate press, and that's what we're here for. Because we want to be able to give these people who are doing their own thing more ability to be able to do so.
Okay,
freely.
I just checked the commie vid, by the way. It did not get claimed.
Okay.
So if you want to send me the other one that you wanted to play as well, if you want to send me that one. Is
The
it Red
journalistic
Nightmare?
function,
Was that the other
and
one?
if you go and look at what people for
Yeah,
hundreds
there
of
was all
years have been
4 of them.
describing as the core
Yeah.
purpose of the
Well,
press,
I
the
think
reason there's a freedom of the
Nuclear
press
Vault has this
guaranteed in the
one, and I
13th
think
Amendment
Nuclear
is
Vault
because-
is definitely public domain stuff. Because
Okay.
it's just like Cold War government stuff, and if it's the government, it shouldn't be owned by anyone,
Yeah.
especially government propaganda.
And then the Red Nightmare, I think you put that twice. One is by All Time Classic Movies, which probably wouldn't claim. And then another one is just a random
Nuclear Vault.
account. Yeah.
Nuclear Vault
we'll
is awesome.
finish this
It's
one.
got a ton of like archive stuff in there.
Okay. We'll finish this one and then we will move on.
Because
we need
you know
a
me,
mechanism
I love me
to
some
confront-
archives. That's why I can find
No, the old
things about
anti-community stuff
Muhajin
is
that died from fatness in Florida, like because I'm looking at archive footage all the time. There's so much to learn about the past that's just on camera that's just lost, and it's so easy to access.
Undermine and subvert and check institutions of authority and the most powerful people in our country. That's what journalism is.
So I agree with him. The problem is all Glenn does is simp for those institutions and powerful people. I'm just saying, like, I get it. Glenn used to be a journalist, but now he just makes Rumble content. By the way, Rumble is backed by Peter Thiel. Like, he just, like, all this man does is enrich these powerful people. So yes, I totally agree that a lot of journalists have abdicated their duties and they're not using their platform to speak truth to power. I literally talk about that in my video. I don't know if he's going to show that part, but like, that's you, Glenn. That's you.
For. It's to bring them down pegs. It's to expose their secrets, that these people who work in these corporations have done the opposite of that. They're the ones who are causing our country to be without journalists, even though they bear the HR title of journalist, because they have done the opposite of what that function is. They serve power. They disseminate its propaganda. They do not challenge or investigate
that's you.
these institutions of authority. The people they investigate and challenge
Bro, you literally,
are ordinary citizens
you
in the
literally are
country.
famous because Russia gave you intelligence. Your diet, dude, Julian Assange, bro.
Okay, hold on. Ordinary citizens. By ordinary citizens, like, who are you talking about? Is Mark Zuckerberg an ordinary citizen? Is Elon Musk an ordinary citizen? Or are they powerful billionaires?
Taylor Lorenz's biggest story as a journalist was uncovering
Her reaction.
the private citizen who
Her reaction of disbelief anytime he does this is hilarious. She just can't believe what she's hearing.
ran the Libs of TikTok account.
Okay, this is
I'm actually with you now. I kind of want one of these to happen because I want to sit here and be like, oh, I didn't know this. This is interesting.
Maybe Johnny Jizzo will do one. Tell me how I'm one-sided on things. I challenge you to
So
find someone that's both as honest and as impartial about things.
First of all, the Libs of TikTok story was not even remotely my biggest story, like in any capacity. But Chaya Raichek is not a private citizen. No. She is a powerful influencer making millions of dollars by pushing anti-LGBTQ hate.
And
this also works for the government now.
Yep, now she's on the Oklahoma board for deciding which
books.
Oh,
by the way, the long version is done. I just need to send you the the
is
check
this
for it.
The Oklahoma episode? What
yeah.
Next?
So so she wants to look at it too. So once I get those, we'll see. Because it was just one run through, and sometimes I'm not even listening because I have ADD.
Yeah. You just edit off the sound waves.
Yeah. Then I start looking at my phone. I really just need to put my phone on the other side of the room.
Another side of the room, yeah.
Yeah. Because I won't open Twitter on my computer because it slows down the editor.
Right. Okay, interesting. Okay, well that's another thing for people who are on the Patreon. Next episode's coming soon. Uncut extended version. Patreon exclusive.
Yeah, and then also
$1.
when we do make the cut version and release it, we're gonna in the like feature segment in the intro, we're also gonna bring her in to talk about because it's literally recorded. Great. It's literally recorded the day that
Mm.
the
It all
assault
happened,
on Nex Benedict. Or is it Nex or Nex?
Nex, I think.
Nex,
Nex.
yeah.
Mm.
So like the next day, they died.
Yeah.
After
So it's
recording
such
it,
an
so.
insane time to record that, and then
Yeah,
this
because
happened.
we're literally talking about Chaya Raychek coming in and
Yeah.
being the board there,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
like the next day, this kid dies.
Mm-hmm. Wild.
At the point that I had written about her, she had been on Tucker Carlson multiple times. She had given interviews to the New York Post. Ron DeSantis' press secretary said that Chaya was directly informing the anti-LGBTQ laws in Florida.
Listen to how she's saying it.
At that point, you're a public figure. If Joe Rogan is
'Cause
talking
it's
about you
gotta
multiple times on the show,
because it's got to be
you're on
like
Fox
you know how the Hebrew has the
Yeah.
So it's the way she's saying it that like we say Chaya, but she's saying like Kaya.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to give her the respect to say her name correctly.
Yeah. I don't think
Good
Taylor's
for
not
you,
doing
Taylor,
it
but I'm
correctly
gonna-
either. He's not doing he's not saying it as phonetically as it should be. But it's like Ethan's wife. People will call her Hilla.
Yeah, it's Ila.
Because that's how it's spelled when it's like E.
Yeah.
News constantly. You're giving interviews to the right-wing media. You're fundraising. You're taking investment from Seth Dillon. Then you're not a private figure anymore. You're a powerful public person that should be reported on. And that's what Glenn seems to kind of like ignore.
Also, going back to what was said before about this being slander, she would also be considered a public figure because she's a journalist and a public, like a very well-known journalist at that.
Okay, neither of those commie propaganda videos were claimed, though.
Okay, great. Everyone ready for an hour of communist propaganda or anti-communist propaganda?
Like he frames these like really powerful people in American politics, basically all the right-wing ones, as like, oh, they're just like average citizens, like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Chaya Raychek, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro. These are just private citizens. What are you talking about? No, that's the whole point, is that they're not private citizens. And yes, I did write about Chaya Raychek's identity because I think at that point you are
she
no longer
pronounced
private
it a little
citizen.
bit better there.
You don't
She
deserve
did put
to be
she did a more emphasis on on that one.
Operating an anonymous account that's influencing state
I gotta say though,
and
I gotta say the art is pissing me off.
You know, getting teachers fired across the country.
I don't
by
like
the way.
minimalist art either. Look, if you're putting boxes on a piece of paper and calling it art, sorry, no.
I mean, who knows? Maybe she made that in Illustrator.
Because Chaya was actually doxing other trans and LGBTQ teachers and getting them fired and harassed and all this stuff. You don't get to operate in impunity like that when nobody knows who you are. So I think it's in the public interest for people to know who someone like that is. I totally stand by that story 100%, and I will never not stand by that story. So it's just interesting who Glenn is private citizens.
Phil Lorenz has never challenged or exposed any lies or secret.
Dude, the amount of emails that I get from people being like, hey, we want to put your fucking podcast on other things. I'm like, no, go away. I didn't email you. I didn't ask. I don't care. Go the fuck away.
Or corruption in the CIA or in the FBI.
Okay, what? I don't cover the CIA or FBI, bro.
We do. We are the CIA.
Jalen Lorenz has never exposed the CIA. That's not even what I write about. I'm a technology journalist. Do you understand what that means? I cover technology.
He literally doesn't know how journalism works. It's like,
yeah, well, he's not a journalist.
We aren't going
He's
to
just
cover
a guy
technology.
that Russia gave information to. Again, let's be clear about this.
Like, you're not going to see us covering random local news about a dog being found that was lost for a week. We're not local journalists.
I don't know. We might put that if it's a good story.
We do cover global news.
Probably the closest we get to entertainment was Diddy got arrested. I guess this Kanye thing today because that's funny.
Yeah,
but we're not going to be on the entertainment or sports.
Yeah, it might pop up every now and again because it has semi-relevance to what we talk about, but we mostly cover politics and geopolitics and international relations, that sort of stuff. It's more
information
global.
warfare.
Yeah, information warfare, narratives, that sort of stuff. So, that's where we sit. That's what we cover. She's going to cover other stuff, and this is why you have teams of journalists that have
and she's really good at because He's really good at doing like just diving people's media accounts
Yes.
and just like finding like everything on them.
Yeah.
And culture. I write about power on the internet. I don't write about like national security. Go call Ken Klippenstein.
Or in Wall Street.
I actually have reported on Wall Street, but I guess he missed those stories.
Or in Silicon Valley. I think.
Or in Silicon Valley. Okay, hold up. What? I've written about powerful Silicon Valley billionaires.
Tech journalist. What the fuck else are you going to cover being a tech journalist if you don't cover Silicon Valley?
All the time. Glenn is very actually aware of my reporting on that because he's like defended those billionaires against my reporting.
Second biggest story is that one time she was in the app Clubhouse and she heard somebody use the word retarded and she ran to Twitter and polled like a tattletale and she attributed it to Mark Andreessen and it turned out Mark Andreessen had not said that, so she had to correct her second biggest story.
That's funny.
What? That I never even wrote about that. I never even wrote about that. I don't even know what he's talking about. He's literally making up a story.
That's hilarious.
Please go through my entire byline history and tell me where I ever reported this. Tell me where I ever wrote a story about what he's talking about. I think he's talking about when I...
She did the real world equivalent of find the tweet, please. Find the byline. Show me.
Shared a tweet from another reporter once where I confused Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, who are two bald, powerful billionaires that like own this like powerful venture capital firm together. And I confused one bald white guy for the other bald white guy in a single tweet once. And then people were like, "Oh no, it wasn't Mark Andreessen that said it. It was Ben Horowitz that said it." And I was like, "Oh, sorry, like the other bald white guy said it." Like in a tweet that was up for maybe 120 seconds, like 5 years ago. That's my second biggest story. I've had stories that like made people pass laws.
I want someone to get angry about me deleting tweets because I'll like interact and do low quality interactions and then delete it all after because I don't care. So I've just been waiting for someone to just get real angry because I've deleted something and just be like, yeah, you a low quality interaction. Why would I want you on my timeline? and then I
don't give a fuck because Twitter's not a real place.
I think it's not a slur.
What'd you say?
They said it's the R slur, and I said hot take. It's not a slur.
Yeah, no, I don't call people with disabilities retarded. I call normal people acting dumb retarded.
But still, like it's dehumanizing language.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
like, I don't think calling you a homo is a slur, but there is an F slur. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's. But again, to what I was saying.
I think nowadays they prefer homos.
Well, queer used to be a slur.
Yeah. Well,
and now look at it. So it's interesting how language evolves. I think calling it dehumanizing language is definitely a more apt thing to call it because that's definitely what it's used for.
Which
right? Even the example that I used,
which I think is worse than just like crude language or things like that. You know?
Yeah.
Is Jana is a bitch a slur? That's more dehumanizing. I think, especially with nowadays. Like I've tried really hard to reduce the amount I say bitch. Because specifically, I've interacted with so many people that just refer to women as bitches. Like as a colloquial, like when they mean to say women, they're saying bitches.
Yeah. No, that is a very common thing. It depends on the context. I'll say it jokingly. Like
yeah.
You know, like
no, I'll
meme
I'll
context.
say someone is being a bitch, but I'm saying it in a way that it's like
an act.
They're like being a crybaby.
Yeah, where I'll be like, I'll say it in like joking terms, like meme, almost meme, in a meme way, where I'm like, bring a bitch a rock or something like that. Bitches love rocks. Yeah, that sort of thing. But I'll never. But language is interesting. It's very interesting.
I never even wrote this story. Glenn, if you're gonna say that I wrote stories, come with links. Come with the links.
Taylor Lorenz has more
Screenshot,
corrections
please.
appended to her stories than almost any person working in media. And
I have almost no corrections. What are you talking about? Once again, you just made up a story that I've never written out of nowhere.
the amazing thing about that is her stories are so trivial
Okay.
that it's almost
I
impossible
just
to
had
even get
find
an edit.
what I was quoting.
Well, yeah, that's interesting as well, because different words have different meanings in different countries. Different words are slurs in other countries that aren't in other ones. So it's
Yeah.
like,
But I think the question is what YouTube doesn't like for me. That's my
Yeah.
only thing.
Like, there are a lot of crossover slurs in Australia between America, but like Australia has their own slurs for minorities.
What's
Aboriginals
ranga?
and whatnot.
Is that a slur?
Redhead.
Dehumanizing?
No, that's not a. That's
Yeah,
not a
just
slur.
kidding,
You
I'm
call a
just kidding.
redhead. It's what you call a redhead. Fucking rangers.
I'm just fucking around.
But sir, he's a ranger.
Yeah.
I care enough to correct them.
Okay,
Yeah.
hang on.
Okay.
So I found what I was quoting, and I'm just gonna play it through my phone, just because it's definitely copyright footage and stuff. I don't know how
Okay.
well this will come up.
Just put it right up to it.
I know you said dream sequences are for fags, but I think it could work, don't you? We all gotta dream, don't we? Not just fags. Oh, by the way, I don't think they like being called fags anymore. I think nowadays they prefer homos. They like to go get it.
Apparently, this man like doesn't read my stories.
She has a mountain of them. Long ones, big ones, major ones.
Some that
What
sit
are
on
you
rocks.
talking about? I don't. Go on my story. What are you talking about? This doesn't exist. Look at my stories. He's like just like making shit up out of his brain.
That's from the movie
Yeah,
that
she
literally
seems to think
made me
she's the success-
Buddhist.
Which one?
That line, it's from Seven
Oh,
Psychopaths.
really?
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
literally the last line in the movie,
Yeah, I agree.
I think. It's not like the last line, but it might be. I don't
Normalize the use of ranger.
know.
story, and on some level, bizarrely,
Well,
she kind of is, given that she's at
What's funny
least been able
about
to
it
draw-
is that when you work with orangutans, I told you that they shorten it because people pronounce it differently.
Mm.
And they basically call them, they will say either ranger or orang or rangs.
Well, yeah. I imagine that's probably where it came from.
Well,
just
no,
where
I'm
the
sure it
idea
came from
came
just
from.
looking at an orangutan being orange, and people were
Yeah.
calling orangutan it's slang.
And then it just
They're so
evolved
cool. Have
ranger.
you seen the one where have you seen the one that's the forest wizard orangutan that was blessing the guy?
No. But you should do some animal videos, because I need to
sent
run
you
for
I sent you
10
some
minutes.
videos.
Yeah, you just play
What?
some.
Hang
I'll
on.
be back in.
Bro, you can't just drop it on me and be like,
I
hey,
know.
have
Attention
things
to herself,
prepared.
just
The
because
video's
I
still
gotta-
going. We're
I
fine.
gotta find
This
the
is such
ranger
an
first.
extreme, it's almost like high camp at this point. I have to say that I kind of come to appreciate Taylor Lorenz in the way that just these kind of people can have this sort of campy, iconic appeal.
Campy iconic appeal. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you.
But there's nothing positive about her journalistically, except for the fact that she provides a window into the pathology that is causing it to collapse. So she is
Look, man, no. The industry is collapsing because of capitalism and nothing more. The people, the journalists, are not to blame here. They were made to write these stories. You think people wanted to write about this shit? I'm sure some did. But I guarantee most people going through journalism school did not want to end up writing top 10 BuzzFeed lists.
right that society is worse off without journalists. And the problem is that the more people employed by these big media corporations, the less journalists we have.
You guys, the more journalists that media companies employ, the less journalists we have. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
And that's why I say it is not just well-deserved, but
Okay, I'll make it make sense. Corporate journalists aren't journalists. They write stories for money. It's that simple.
It's a job.
Yeah, it's a job, but they're not doing journalism. They're doing a job.
I'm looking. I just typed in orangutan and I scrolled by gorillas in the rain.
Cause for celebration to watch these outlets that have done far more misleading and far more propagandizing and far more attacking of ordinary citizens than powerful.
Okay, so he's just never going to show the part of my video where I talk about all this, I guess. Like, he just cut that whole part out of the video.
Yeah.
Because he's saying all this stuff that I say in my video and address in my video, but he's not playing it. So I'm just kind of curious. He's talking about all this stuff that I talk about in my video, and yet he's conveniently cropped it out of his video. So
break down and collapse and disintegrate because they're anti-journalism and not journalism. And because of their failures, people are paying increasing attention to independent media, people who have offered something.
Oh, yeah, but Glenn Greenwald, upholding journalism.
The public is interested in.
Okay, wait a second. Glenn.
Wasn't Glenn Greenwald one of the people saying that America blew up Nord Stream without evidence, citing one person, even though journalistic standards is 3 corroborating sources? Yeah, something you'll learn pretty early, even if you don't go to school for journalism, is that you should have at least 3 corroborating sources. It's definitely not a standard in corporate journalism. Another reason why I say corporate journalists aren't journalists, because they're not doing journalism. They're just doing hearsay and stories that they want out first because they get the clicks first, they get the money, their attractions don't matter. It's literally that simple. Incorrect, misleading, or just blatantly lying stories, it's fine. It's fine. It doesn't matter. As long as it gets clicks, as long as the ad sales are there, it really doesn't matter. That's why they're not journalists.
Ding, 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 ding. That's my entire beat. What you are describing, independent media, people building audiences on the internet, that is what I write about. I think actually, I feel like this man is maybe just confused. Like maybe he got it in his head somewhere that I'm a national security reporter. And so he thinks I'm just like an atrocious national security reporter. Cause like, why am I not exposing the FBI and CIA and like instead writing about like powerful right-wing influencers? And he's like, whoa, she sucks at her reporting. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess if you think that that's my beat, but my beat is not that. My beat is writing about the independent media, as in the content creator universe, which by the way,
how do I get this monkey video to come up? You know,
what are you looking for?
It's the orangutan. He's like a shaman, so I typed in orangutan viral jungle river,
just type in orangutan shaman.
I doubt it will come up with that because that's like a
watch it does.
It's just very funny. Like Glenn is late to this. Let's not forget. I guess he was a blogger too. So blogger respect blogger. But it's just funny because like I talk about this extensively in all my videos and I write about this. Like I literally produced this massive print package and wrote like an entire book. I wrote an entire book last year. No, I actually wrote it it took me 2.5 years to write, but
look,
I wrote
that's a great title. Extremely Online. What a great book title.
Entire book. Glenn, please, you want to talk about the independent media? My entire book is about the rise of the independent media, of people building audiences on the internet, and that's subsuming the traditional media. I actually have like parts in my book where I talk about legacy media imploding, and I say like if legacy media does not adapt, they're going to fall by the wayside. This is like the core thesis of this massive 380-page book that I published last year, that Simon & Schuster published last year. So
the issue is that there's so many good orangutan videos.
Well, time's almost up.
That talk about this because it's like, Glenn, I think you might get my beat. I think you might start to understand what I write about. I write about online influence. I don't write about the CIA.
Develop a level of trust and faith that you can find people who will inform you, who will do their best to tell you what they see is happening.
This is so crazy. This is literally everything I wrote about. This is my entire beat.
You may not always agree with them, but you know that they are at least doing their best and have no constraints, no corporate constraints on the sorts of things they can and can't say.
That's the end of the video? Oh my God. Wait a minute. So he just flat out never showed the rest of my TikTok.
Are you
He
surprised?
never showed the rest of my TikTok where I made all the points that he makes in the second part of his video, like the second part of his video where he's like trying to make this weird response to me.
So he
Like
stole
I
your
talk
work.
about that on TikTok all day. Also, I report on that all day. Okay, Glenn, I'm going to read you a quick passage from my book, Extremely Online. I think it might help you kind of understand the things that I actually
So
cover.
condescending. I love it.
So this is just like a couple lines. The explosive growth of the content creator industry of today is the culmination of decades of user-driven platform evolution. The internet connected the world, allowing talented creators to bypass traditional gatekeepers and build fanatical audiences directly online. When one thinks of the media, they often think of broadcast news and newspapers. In reality, content creators are the media of today. The media landscape that they dominate is only becoming more digital and more distributed. Cycles of virality are accelerating. Online influence can make you a Hollywood sensation, morph you into a powerful business leader, or take you to the White House. These shifts will only be compounded with technological advances such as the rise of AI. Legacy institutions that refuse to adapt will continue to fade into oblivion.
Good quote. Source, I made it the fuck up because she literally did. Sources, she made it the fuck up. Okay. You got your video?
No, I did not find the shaman one, but there's these ones that I sent you already. Not
Okay.
that one.
Ooh, they're
I
3
sent you that.
seconds long.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're cool animal videos that I've already sent you.
You do those then.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?